DIY.
DIYers, welcome in on a rare interview day on Sunday. I appreciate every single person that's coming in here. Shout out to all my moderators in here. Definitely appreciate you holding it down. For those of you that are making your way in here today, we are joined with a special guest. That will be my guy, Mars. First and foremost, how you doing, sir?
I am incredibly amazing, my guy. I'm blessed. How about you?
I'm good, man. Appreciate you taking a little bit of time from a very important studio session to come sit down with me, bro. I appreciate you reaching out too.
It's all good, man. I appreciate it and love what you're doing, my guy.
All right. I want to start this off and I want to get a verification from the man himself. This is what Chat GPT had to say about you. I want to verify whether or not they know enough about you, okay?
All right.
It says, today I'm joined by Grammy-winning producer and musician, my guy Mars, a pillar in West Coast music known for his work in with legends like Mýa, H.E.R, Nipsey Hussle, Blast, and so many more. He's not just a producer, he's a mentor, musical director, and educator, helping artists move with purpose, faith, and excellence. From his weekly drops with My Guy Mars, Mondays, to his powerful open mic experience after church LA, Mars is all about building platforms that empower the community and the culture. We're going to talk about music, mentorship, live shows, independence, and the kind of impact that goes way beyond the music. And we talked about it before we got on the camera about the way that you presented when you promoted this actual interview. You were talking about an emphasis on we're gonna talk about church stuff, and you put it in quotation marks. So I definitely want to get to that at a certain point. But first and foremost, man, what's going on in your world these days?
Man, everything that's blessed. You know what I'm saying? Everything that's great. From the first thing, just being a dad, is incredible. You know what I'm saying? My son is 6, so I feel like probably like within the last couple of years, it's starting to like really kick in. Just seeing him grow,
Right.
and you know how he's gravitating to music. He actually has one of my singles. He produced the beat on one of the songs that I'm going to drop.
At
But
6?
yeah, well, he was 5 when he did the beat.
Oh
But
my God. Wait. How is this even possible? At 5, my son's is on a different journey, as I'll say, but at 5 is incredible. I mean, some of that is obviously in the gene pool, but how does a 5-year-old end up having production credits?
I mean, like we were talking about earlier, it's just the tools, right? And kids are glued to the iPad, and my thing is just raising him to be able to learn something. Like I don't mind him being on the iPad, but it's like, okay, you get 10 minutes to watch whatever you want to watch, you know what I'm saying? And then 10 minutes you're gonna watch something that's, educational or do some art, you know what I'm saying? So he's found like different music programs, and I just, show him different music programs. He'll download all of them, and then which one he found one that he just makes beats on, and it was one that was like, I couldn't believe that he did it. I'm like, no, you need to send this to me right now. Like, it's crazy.
I mean, he only got the cheat code of having you as his pops. So, shout out to that, right? That's obviously, like I said, some of that's got to be in the gene pool. I have a son, he's 7, and he's on the spectrum. And so we have a different journey altogether. But the beautiful thing is his favorite thing to do when he walks in this room is hit one of these keys and hear the 808 that's already linked up to FL Studio, what I have. So I'm like, look, I'll take it however God want me to present it. Music is gonna be a part of it. Plus, he listened to a lot of music. So I got a bunch of questions here. Specifically, I want to start with ones where how I first started even hearing your name, which is through one of my favorite artists of all time, in Mýa. Also, too, is a lot of her fans in this household as well, and I'm sure in the comment section. And so I want to start off with just those specifically. You've worked with Mýa and H.E.R, 2 R&B powerhouses with completely different styles. What is it like working with each of them?
So H.E.R, I haven't worked with her directly.
Okay.
Rance has worked with her. So that's probably, 1500. A lot of the songs kind of get mixed up. But I will speak on Mýa, and I'm glad that you brought that up. Mýa was, as always, I've been an individual that likes to create with only my friends. Like I know how they are. I know their attitudes. I can deal with, like we can fight, we can do all of that, but we're gonna be friends at the end of the day, and we're gonna get through it. So I can deal with that with people I know. It's been very tricky, and you can't control situations when people, have different motives.
Right.
So, needless to say, I didn't really have the, um, I didn't really want to work with anybody outside of my friends, and the music would just get to people. God just allowed me to just, be in the right places to have the music, but the opportunity came for me to work with Mýa, and I'm like, okay, cool. Because she's an artist that I want to work with. So I end up working with her. She's a Libra like myself. She's very particular. She's very specific, very intentional. And all of these traits my guy Mars has as well. So
so how does that dynamic work if both of y'all are very particular about things? How does anything get done?
It was well, the first session was like, look, you should do this song, and I bought all this like, chicken and all this stuff, like, and then she's like, yeah, I'm vegan. So that went out the window. And then it was like, yo, I got this song, it's fire, and the person was cussing and doing all this stuff, and she was like, yeah, I don't do songs that, with cussing in it.
Oh wow.
So I was very like adamant about like, look, this is my style, this is what I see, if not, it's cool. And she's like, well, this is what I do, and if not, it's cool. And we just went outside. I went outside to smoke because I couldn't smoke in the studio. And we was just talking, and she came back in. She was like, well, maybe what if we change the words to the song? You know what I'm saying? And we start, and then I'm like, all right, well, maybe, boom. And we just start, working together, and after that day, it was just like every day we got together, we made something special, and that ended up a year later having a studio together and building a partnership and working on our first project that got Grammy nominated.
Man, and I'm intrigued about specifically what you're talking about in terms of building up that chemistry and trying to figure out, how to work with others. I'm very much the same way. With me as a producer and artist, I've been in sessions where because I produce, because I can add to a hook, whatever it is that they're asking for, I get kind of pulled in directions that maybe I'm not on that day. Maybe today I just want to be producer Curtis, right? But you, in certain scenarios where you're not in control, you got to play ball, especially if, you want to find success in this industry.
Right.
But I have pretty much worked with those that I'm like, we got to click on some level. So my question, I guess, to follow that up is, was there a moment during one of those sessions, those earlier sessions, that reminded you why you do this to begin with?
I mean, I think like it was more me being able to work with somebody I've always wanted to work with, and being able to reintroduce them as an artist, So I just like was looking from my perspective. There's a whole generation or generations of people that don't know who Mýa is, that don't know who Curtis is, that don't know who my guy Mars is. So it's like, how do we get the right type of music to those people? You know what I mean? How do we reintroduce Mýa as an artist? And that's pretty much what you're doing every time you release music. You're reintroducing yourself because you evolve as you keep creating. Right. So that's how I envisioned it, and it just, you can hear it from 2016 all the way to now. The progress and the evolution of the chemistry is, you can hear it sonically. So I think it's just consistency and like really allowing, God to be in the room and not having the ego. That's the main thing. Like, because you downloading information. Music is spiritual. You literally downloaded melodies in real time. You download, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just going to my computer, showing up and just clicking on stuff. And then all of a sudden something going crazy, then I start pick up the bass, pick up some keys. So it's like, you just have to be able to be a vessel, and Mýa's the same. We kind of have a lot of similarities. She's, super creative. She writes. She's a producer herself. She knows how to put things together. She raps. She tap dance. So she like breathes music just like I breathe music. So it's just, it's a no-brainer.
Right. Fun. Yeah, I mean, it reminds me of a quote Quincy Jones said one time when he was like, when you're in a studio, if you have the option, a lot of these studios don't have windows, but he's like, if you got a window, open up the window and let God in. I thought it was such a powerful, powerful quote, because it is more than just letting the breeze at, at face value. That's really about, we don't know where this magic is coming from. We don't, how many times I've sat here and penned a verse and I'm like, I have to give myself patience when I'm not getting the takes, because I'm getting introduced to this verse as well. It's my first introduction to it. Maybe the way I delivered it the first time, may not be what it is the fourth or fifth. So no, that's really, really powerful stuff. So, I mean, you brought up, these are the times where people get to know who MYGUYMARS is in your own words. Who is MYGUYMARS? Because I want to start to get into really you as an individual, and then we're going to transition into, of course, 1500 or nothing.
Okay, easy call. I'd like to think MYGUYMARS is someone who allows God to move through his music and his life in general, and someone that is living a life that outlives them.
Break that down a little bit. He said living a life that's outlived them.
Yeah, legacy. So, a lot of people go, I want to get a mansion, I want to have a Rolls Royce, I want to have all of the things that you can't take. And when you leave, either family is fighting over it, somebody gonna get it, and then what happens with the rest of the family, or what are people gonna remember you by?
Right.
You know what I mean? So a lot of people are not here anymore, and they didn't leave a blueprint nor a legacy. The reason why we can have a Marathon Burger still now, 6 years after Nip's transition, is because he left a legacy and he left a blueprint.
Yeah, strong.
He literally said in interviews what he wanted to do. He said in interviews what book he was reading. He said in interviews he left a whole manuscript to keep creating and recreating off of the legacy. You know what I'm saying? And God is the source, and us as vessels, we're the resource. We're supposed to resource what we have, which is, God. So if we're supposed to resource this, you're supposed to give as much as you can. You're supposed to that's what re means. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, keep giving, keep giving, keep giving. You're supposed to give so that you die empty. So, my purpose, like I said, is to give as much as I can, plant as many seeds as I can. So many people that I've blessed, you know what I'm saying, that's in different positions that they probably never even seen themselves in. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's not about me. It's about giving what I have from God and allowing them to keep giving what they have. And
right.
That's how you create legacy.
Yeah. As a musician, where does this journey begin for you?
Church. Everything. The production journey began in church. The musician journey began in church. Everything was in church. Me playing the bass, learning how to play the bass, learning how to play the organ, learning how to play the piano, learning how to play the drums. Everything was in church. Learning harmony, being in choir rehearsal, teaching harmony. I remember one time I was about 9 years old and I was playing the drums for my church. And my father, of course, was a pastor, but we're in a choir rehearsal and my uncle is like, teaching the choir. But he taught one of the parts wrong. It was a different, note. So I'm like, hey, uncle, it's actually, and I walked over to the keyboard and just was like, oh, it's uncle, it's actually boom, boom, boom. And he was like, but he kind of got offended, but he didn't, you know what I'm saying? To his defense, he was like looking like, what? Like, 9-year-old come over here, like, boy, go sit on the drums. But I was actually right, you know what I'm saying? So that made a thing to where it was like, it instilled certain principles and certain theories and certain things that I was picking up from 3-4 years old to just know how things are supposed to sound, to know what chords are supposed, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that was all developed in church.
I was gonna say, I know it firsthand because my mom was a choir director, right? My mom.
So about them parts.
Come on, fam. Like, my mom had me in damn near any church in LA that you can think of. Like, she used to play specifically at one off of 51st or 54th in Hooper. It was called St. Peter's Rock, and that's where I fell in love with the drums, because it was different when you had an older drummer versus when you had a younger drummer who was like really getting in the pocket. He don't care about volume. He wasn't inside like these new churches got the glass enclosures.
Yeah,
We talking about a Baptist church. Ain't no glass enclosure. You gonna hear it. But he getting into a zone, and I can't tell you how many times somebody in the choir might have been his aunt or his mom was like, calm it down. But I saw that and fell in love. I heard choirs singing in unison and seeing like the alto and all, and that's when I started fall in love with just the sound that you hear there. I'm curious, like how obviously you were hands-on. How many of those moments did you experience where you saw this and you not only participated but said, you know what, I could see myself doing this for a living, even at a young age?
You know what, to be honest, I've never not seen that. Like at 4, I literally was playing the drums, like at church. It would be probably just for the choir until I got super good. You know what I'm saying? By 6, I was playing. 6 years old, I'm playing all the way up until like 9. I started playing the keyboard a little bit. Around 10 or 11, I'm really playing. So it's like I've been around all these moments to where I've known like that I've always wanted to do music. I never thought about being, an astronaut or, a teacher or educator or, a mentor, an entrepreneur. I never thought about being any of those things, and low key became all of those things from just doing music.
See, I knew kids like you when we were kids. I've met kids like you. They end up becoming the professionals of this world. You know who? One of them I met when I went to Curtis Middle School. That's where I got my name, by the way. It's Curtis Middle School from Carson.
Oh wow, that's crazy. That's
like Aaron Affollo. He was the kid. Aaron Affollo.
Aaron Affollo.
Aaron Affollo. He went to Centennial. He ended up going to like the Denver Nuggets and all of that. Kendrick talks about him in one of his songs. Was like he was coming up. He used to be jealous of Aaron Affollo and jealous of the game and whatnot. But he was a kid in Curtis Middle School. I kid you not, that would be in science class with a tennis ball and would just be dribbling it and wouldn't miss a step. And it's like you look at that. He was cool, right? He was cool to other kids because it was like he could hoop for real because he was one of the best players. But at the same time, I did see other kids who were like hyper focused and it kind of alienated other kids. What was kind of your experience? Did that make it to where you were like a conversation piece because you had something that was so developed at that age?
I mean, yeah and no, because I wasn't allowed to, like I'm a pastor kid, I'm a bishop kid, so I wasn't allowed to listen to hip hop, R&B, none of that. So it wasn't until I got to like maybe like junior high school, I started hearing like things either there at the high school on somebody Walkman or at the house, you know what I'm saying, or we go to Walmart and be listening. They used to let you listen to the CDs before you buy them. We go there listening to stuff.
I miss those days.
The speed is crazy. So it's like I figured out it was a whole nother world out there. And that's when I like, start really like, just tapping into different things. My cousin David and Dewan, my cousin just passed, David, but him and my cousin, him and my cousin Dewan, they would just pick me up and be playing like Slum Village and Common and Erykah Badu and all of these things that sounded like church and church chords and people that are influenced from church and come from church, and just with the craziest beats and the craziest songs. And I'm just like, what is this? Like, this is crazy.
Y'all been holding out on me.
Yeah. So I'm like, that's how, when I heard that, I knew I wanted to make people feel how I did. It was, and the majority of the songs that I really loved was from Dilla. So I started going and reading credits. And, Dilla really inspired me to want to make people feel how I felt when I first heard the Tribe song, Now You Calm My Heart for the Evening.
Yeah.
When I first heard that, it was
energy. Yeah.
Then I heard We Can Freak It. I'm like, oh no, this is like, you can do this? This is crazy. So I'm like, this is what I want to do, whatever this is.
Right.
I ended up making beats, to your point, in the church. Like I ended up just, sequencing and making beats and making, every time I would leave school, I would always go to the church.
Who was you making beats on? Or was you sequencing
on the Trinity Plus?
Trinity. Oh yeah, that's when you had to go straight for the keyboard. My mom had a Roland Phantom. She thought she bought herself a Roland Phantom, and then she put it out on the patio where I used to make music at. And I just kept looking at it, and I was like, "Mama, can I use your Roland Phantom?" I went through one of them patches, and I found the drop it like it's hot sounds, and I found the grinding beat. And I said,
that come from the Triton, from the Trinity.
I was like,
same sound.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like when I seen them patches, I was like, can I make beats with this? But yeah, no, that journey, man, that's it for a lot of people. It is like love at first sight for that. But so obviously, and I'm glad that you were able to break down, kind of the history and where everything led to. I want to get to these 1500 or nothing questions. The first one I have is man, obviously you guys have shaped the industry for years. How did that all begin? Like, how did the connection happen there?
Church. Literally. We met at church, and we ended up playing at a church as a band. And we worked with Bobby Valentino before he was Bobby Valentino to get his deal. And once he got his deal, we were like a band. We were 1,500. That's how much we charged. So it was like, 1,500. Dude was like, "What's the name of your band?" We like, "Bro, 1,500 or nothing."
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, Chuck and Rance. I was just sitting back waiting to get paid. But Chuck and Rance was like, "Man, it's 1,500 or nothing." They pressing like, "Yo," So that's how the name came. It was more like a response to how much we getting paid.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So.
And see, I watch the videos, because I follow Rance and I see all the amazing mentorship done at the school, and I'm seeing these videos where all of y'all be playing multiple instruments. This leads me back to an earlier question that I didn't ask, but it leads into this. What is y'all mindset as producers? I mean, I work with a lot of producers as well. One of my best friends, my homie Oh Gosh Leotis, my guy Nabi, and so I look at them and I'm like, y'all can do everything that I can do, and low key better. So it's like, where do I find I end up just rapping at some point. But what's your mindset? Because you play multiple instruments, when you're in a room with musicians who also play other instruments, like how do you naturally kind of find your place? And do you ever feel stuck at times where it's like, well, I kind of want to move here to this and I want to do bass here, or does it just flow? How does it all flow like the way it does?
I mean, with 1,500, like, bro, it's our 20th year this year as being a band. So like I've literally been seeing these not so attractive guys every freaking day of my life and having to put up with them every day, you know what I'm saying, for the most part, for at least the first 10 years, you know what I'm saying, first 15 years. So to your point, it was always just a system. Like, I think because people would think it would be difficult because everybody plays everything, but it was a lot more easier because for me, I'd just come in and, smoke and just enjoy the vibe until somebody like Mars, boom, 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 until somebody say something, they can make the whole beat without me. I can have all kind of melodies in my head, but I'll just be chilling. You know what I'm saying? But we're so used to working.
No. This is why you don't let your son get in here and start moving. That right there is called a soundboard right there, okay? When my son got in here and started moving stuff around, I couldn't find my soundboard when we started. I found it. My apologies, sir. My apologies. That's crazy. That happens right when you I'm like, what are my feet touching? Oh, that's that. I apologize, sir.
That's hilarious. He was bumping that. That's Mars' song too. That's my son's song too. So it's all good.
Man, yeah, I got these sounds on. I'm the one that put the sounds on there. It's just the fact that it was on the ground. I was like, where the hell is my sound? I guess we're not doing
like this. Going
there you go. You were right in the middle of what you're saying. I want to let you. Somebody said, was that all the buttons? I think it was. That's the first time they've ever been pushed. Yeah, my bad, bro. My bad.
No, it's all good.
We got a clip. There it goes. What you were talking about, like, because this is the thing about it. I've been a part of independent rap groups. I've been a part of multiple groups. Like one of the first ones I was ever a part of was Tay Beats was my CEO, actually. Tay Beats, my guy, Star Lab. They had an imprint called Rockstar ENT, and they were based in Inglewood. And that was my first time being a part of it. But I was like, everybody in here could be that guy in another situation. Everybody in here could easily be on their own and do, but what ultimately makes it work, at least for us in these situations, was being able to like kill the ego. And sometimes that didn't happen. I'm curious, since we're on that subject, what do you think has been the key to keeping 1500 and Nothin so tight knit and evolving even after all the success that you guys have had?
Well, to finish answering the first question and transition into that question, the way we were creating was like we had this system back in the day called musical chairs. So like it didn't matter who started. Like I'll start a beat. Let's say I start a beat, and then I'll just get up whenever I'm done hearing something, and then the Rance come, and then he'll finish the drums or add something or add a bass. And then Brody will come and then he'll play some chords. And then I'll go back and then do some strings. Then Rance come back and we just do that until the beat is done. And then, format the beat and then go to the next one. Then Rance might start the next beat. Then Brody and we would just do that every day. You know what I'm saying?
That's not fair, by the way. That's not fair, by the way. That y'all that's not fair. That ain't fair to nobody. I can't imagine and I've probably been one of them who heard a beat and was like, oh, I'm trying to make something like that. And it's like, no, you're not. You're not. You're really not. You're really not. Like,
no, you need instruments for sure. Instruments.
No, it ain't gonna be just the instruments. It's gonna be the fact that all the seasoned musicians also.
Incredible talent, because all my friends are super incredible, man, at what they do.
I've been to a lot of studios that have state-of-the-art equipment. They couldn't find a on switch. You know what I mean? So like, it is the gear, but it is the ear as well. Man, so you guys all approach music like a craft. Live instrumentation, arrangement, education. How intentional has that philosophy been from the start of 1500 Nothin?
It's always been God. Like I said, we started in church, so everything that we play, like I always play what I feel. Like music is spiritual, so it's like however you feel, I'm able to express that. My emotions through instruments, what I'm saying? Mainly the organ, mainly the keyboard, the drums. I play a little bass. I can write some stuff with the guitar, but that's where Chuck come in, rest in peace. That's where Brody come in. That's where, what I'm saying? Chris Payton, what I'm saying? People that's, been around us and know the right things to play. And, it's super formulaic. So, to your answer to your question, as far as intention, is really formulaic. We already had the days of being 16 and 15, trying to figure it out, putting all the instruments in the beats and trying to turn everything up. We've reached a certain point now where, after being in the NBA is what I like to call it, after being, working with professional people and being around professional people and, being mentored by Snoop, being mentored by T.I., being, around all the artists that we worked with, Future, Kelly Rowland, what I'm saying, Lil Yachty, Migos, Faith Evans, Mýa, what I'm saying? Like all these people that we're on the road with are also looking at how they move, how they do their business, how they brand themselves. And all of those things we implement into our own brand, into what we do. So I feel like that's how we've been able to, keep evolving and also have some type of substance, because the foundation is God. So if you got God in it, God before you, He more than the world against you, my guy.
I think there's a reason God made sure we had this interview on Sunday too. We tried to line this up for other days. God was like, nah, we're gonna just save that for Sunday. We're gonna save, because it is a reoccurring theme through everything. And there's obviously some other things we're gonna get to, but we got to talk about the success too. And I want to make sure I confirm, because I'm not always able to find like, okay, Mars is behind this particular Grammy. So you've won Grammys, obviously. Grammy award winning work. The question I had, and you got to please confirm if I'm off on this one. You got Grammy recognition for your work on Kanye West Stronger?
Yes.
Okay. And Chris Brown's Fame, correct?
Yes.
What did those wins mean to you as someone who came from a musicianship first background, especially when, we're in an existence sometimes where that's not always the focus. Sometimes you may get a younger producer that comes into the game and they don't really put musicianship first. How does it feel? Like, how do you interpret that to see it win the way that it does?
Really, that was more of a wake-up call for me to be able to know that God can use you if you're allowed to be the tool in any situation. It goes back to what you were saying. Like, sometimes people don't want to be the keyboard player. They want to be the producer. Sometimes people don't want to they like, no, if Kanye West want to work with me, he got to, produce with me, and you missed the whole opportunity. For me, it's like I live music, so I just want to be able to help however I can. And if the majority of the time, 99% of the time, if you play me some music, I'm going to hear something. God is going to put melodies and things in my head that's not there, and that's what I'm going to play. You know what I'm saying? And then I'll write some more and come up with some more melodies, or be able to format more. So, to your question, like, I spent so many hours and days going to 4 studio sessions a day, 5 studio sessions, making 500 beats, doing all of that. And
Yeah.
Kanye West was me literally playing the keyboard and playing the strongs, playing the song, the synthesizer on Stronger.
Yeah.
And then Up to You was literally me playing like 2 notes on that song. And those are the least amount of energy that I did to contribute a part of songs that I did in those years.
Right.
And those were the songs that won Grammys. So that just let me know, like, be in the rooms and go where you call, and be a tool however you can be a tool. Like, if God is in the room, like I seen a quote somewhere, and I've been saying it. I wish I can quote whoever said it, but I tell people, just say you got it from MYGUYMARS for now. But
the rule is you quote it anonymously first, and then the second time is yours. That's what I
facts. You know what I'm saying? I don't know who said it, but yes, like, ego means exiting God out. So if the ego is in the room, then God can't work. You know what I'm saying? So I'm there just showing up and literally watching Ye make the whole beat. I thought it was weird because he was just listening to Daft Punk and it was super fast. And I was just like, I don't know what this guy is doing, but I'm here. I'm smoking and I'm here. And then it turned into Stronger, and I watched him make it, and I'm like, this is incredible. Yeah. And then after he got the beat going, hey, Mars, you hear something? Go back to the download, the melodies from heaven.
Right.
Already there. Like, the changes is already there. And it was church chords. So yes, it was church stuff.
Yeah. But see, it always is though, right? Like, especially when you're talking about music that is feeding the soul. I'm not classically musically trained. My mom is, so she exposes me to a lot of terminology. Plus, in my own journey as I guess more of a beat maker than a producer at times, there's a lot of things that I had to pick up and learn my skills and go through these things. But that's one thing I always thought was really phenomenal, is even in a lot of the Neptune's music, and in the chord progressions that I fell in love with, the 7th chords, I was like, why I feel like home? My mama, like, because you grew up in church.
Right.
You've heard these before.
Facts.
Yeah. So it's always dope to see that it has a place, no matter where it's at in terms of secular music or where it makes its way. People, it's almost like soul food. Like, you could tell the difference between soul food and fast food, no matter where you at in the world.
Absolutely.
So I'm curious, after that kind of success, when you're young, and I don't want to put this on you because everybody is different, but when you're young and all of the success is coming to you the way that it is, and you just said it yourself, when it's with very minimal, like, what you can do, but you like, that's the one that get the awards.
Right.
It's almost like you start looking at these hands and being like, yo, what else can these hands do? I'm curious, did it change the way that people treated you, first of all, your work, or even like the band's work after these awards, or was it just another step in the marathon?
Definitely another step in the marathon. Like, I've always been to the next thing guy, like, you know what I'm saying? And it's funny and ironic that Snoop told me one time, I had went to like play him something, and he had told me one time, he was like, hey bro, he's like, do you know that I can call Dr. Dre, I can call Pharrell, I can call Swiss Beats, I can call any producer that I want to. He was like, when I call you, it's because I'm seeing what you already doing. Like, I'm putting a battery pack into you. Like, you gotta, sometimes it's cool to just look up and smell the flowers and see what you've done, so you can be able to have that extra, motivation to be able to say, like, dang, like, look what God did, look at what, and then let me get back in here and do more. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's cool to put the metal on and be like, okay, all right, now let's get back out here. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
he put it in perspective, you know, to really like acknowledge, you know, the evolution and the steps, you know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people take the elevator. So, you know, it's not about how fast you get there. It's about what you learn when, you know, and what you go through getting there. That's why it's about the journey more than it is a lot of times than the destination.
No,
Because
I mean,
you know what I'm saying?
I say 99% of the time it's really about the journey because you know, how many times for me at least, I have to just catch myself and say, wait. I know we focus on the next thing. I know we trying to prepare it, but literally whatever you're doing right now is the best preparation for whatever's going to happen there. And you don't have control over a lot of these variables. So being able to get back in the now and just be like, all right, cool. You know what I'm saying? Everything's intact right now because I know anything can happen, especially in a year like this. I keep saying like we in the I don't know what day of this year it is, but it feel like years and not days.
Right.
Been so much going on. Man, and you mentioned earlier, you know, you mentioned the marathon. How was it seeing going to the Marathon Burger and seeing it be a real thing? I'm sure you probably had a heads up about it because you know you're close to the circle and whatnot. How was it seeing that up close? I didn't get to make it out there, but I saw like some footage and whatnot.
Yeah, man, it's fire, man. I mean, I'm not just being biased. Actually, I'm like been feigning it. The food is amazing, bro,
Yeah.
and it's just as far as, and you know, it goes back to what I was saying. Um, Being able to have a blueprint and being able to, you know, create legacy. You know what I'm saying? It's just a beautiful thing. Um, you know, it's you know, it's bittersweet. You know what I'm saying? Because you know, I was up there. I had to, you know, smoking on the patio, looking at the Marathon Burger, and you know, thinking about hustle, and you know, it's a little, you know, it gets you know, kind of emotional at times, but it's a lot more motivation and a lot more, you know, being proud. You know what I'm saying, that we can still be able to remember and, you know, carry out, you know, hustle legacy.
Yeah. You know, you can't see it, but back here I got a photo of is an artist that made basically they animated the photo he has where he's with the kids out there at the playground and he's you know going. I think it was a STEM a donation that he was making. But man, you know this is somebody that we champion on this platform to this day, right? To this day because he left so much wisdom. And man, it sounds like you have had the blessing of being around folks that have not been stingy with the game, have not been stingy with gatekeeping, you know, stuff that could really help you on your journey. I want to before we dive a little bit deeper into sort of that relationship and even working with Nip, I want to talk about Snoop for a second because you mentioned it and you said that he was somebody that you know gave you game at a very crucial time. What is that relationship? How important has that relationship been for you?
I mean, it's super. It is. I'm very grateful, to say the least. Um, he's arguably the most famous rapper in the world. So it's like
Yeah.
you have somebody like that I've literally been around for like, you know, the last whatever 15 plus years, you know, 20 years or so. Yeah, like 20 or so years, like playing on tour, learning what not to do, you know, messing up a lot, you know what I'm saying? Like just like, and then being able to be a part of everything. You know what I'm saying? He was one of the first people that that really saw us as kids and saw our potential and like invested in it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
To the point where we had a song that we did and he loved the song so much. He like, yeah, I'm gonna rap on it, cuz I'm gonna rap on it. And he put it on his album and I'm like, yo, did we ever get the mix? They're like, we are at the mix and it's still no verse. So I'm like,
Oh
to
wow.
that we get to the album, we play the album, no verse. And at first I was like, wait, did he just like floss us? But I'm like, wait, that's crazy that he like believed in us so much and
Mhm.
loved something that we did so much that he really like put it on his project and gave us that shine. And you know, then made us his band, and then we was
Right.
on every single project after that. If not the projects, then working on something else. You know, I did a whole EP with him. He calling me at 3 in the morning. You know, so it's just
Yeah.
like being able to develop that relationship and you know, have a like an accidental mentor, you know what I'm saying, but a friend and somebody that you can work with and also study from. It's been, you know, more than a blessing. Like again, I'm just super grateful.
What's some? So you know the public. We always think we know Uncle Snoop. A
Yeah.
matter of fact, I just said Uncle Snoop. We don't know Snoop like you know him, right? We don't know him in terms of like, you know, the perspective that you get. Like you said, you get these 3 o'clock in the morning calls and whatnot. You know, what's something that you have witnessed in terms of his character that we would have no idea about?
Um, Probably how much of a musician he is.
Hmm.
Like he's a real musician, like not musician like he can go play a keyboard or organ, but he knows music like musician. Like his ear is crazy. He knows all the music, like everything, like from blues to pop to alternative to. It's like you never know what he gonna play. Every day on tour, it's just like you never know what he gonna play.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like he really knows music. Like you know what I'm saying? I remember one rehearsal that when I first was doing this first Snoop gig, I'm like rehearsed everything. We did everything perfect. You know what I'm saying? We get done with the last song, and then he starts singing something. He starts singing a James Brown song. I forget which one it was or the title of it, but he starts singing like a James Brown song, and then like everybody like kind of like looking at each other, you know, we start like playing something, and he like, nah, that ain't it. He's like, see, cuz y'all got to step your music game up. He's like, y'all ain't no real musicians, y'all don't know that, you know what I'm saying? And then that was like,
That was crazy.
damn, like, he was right, and I'm like, you know, you got to be ready. So you know, that's I think people don't know how much of a musician he is for real. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Man, man, so I appreciate you sharing that. Well, you know, we talked about a little bit about Nips and also the marathon burger, but you know, I want to talk about really. I've listened to Nip, I listened to Nip for many years, and I've seen the different transitions his voice went through, that his sound went through. When we get to the victory lap, there's so much musicality on there. When I think about, you know, real big, when I think about just even it's crazy to say this, but like rap nigga has so much musicality that people like when I talk to other producers, well, I think of producers, I'm like, do you realize what's going on underneath the surface? And even the direction in terms of like where you're laying the vocals. And then when I start to see clips of like Rance working, I said it makes so much sense.
Mhm.
That project, I feel like as much of an imprint as because that project aged so damn well, first of all. But you know, with that journey, I remember we did my buddy Noah James and I, we were announcing the list for paid dues, and this is the first time we ever got a chance to meet Nipsey, and we were announcing everybody who's going to be a headliner on paid dues in 2013, I think it was. I just
Mhm.
remember like just one of the coolest energies to be around. But obviously, as you see from the interviews, just a bookworm, and just an encyclopedia of information. I literally could put up a quote every single day from a video on Twitter or whatnot. But you got a much different perspective, man. First of all, you know, let's talk about Nipsey, the human being, the man. And before we talk about your work that you've done with him musically, give us some perspective. What is that? What was he like, man?
Man, he was just the coolest. Like he cared about just everything, you know what I'm saying, and everybody. Like things you wouldn't think he would be thinking about, or people that you know, if it's the janitor, if it's the you know what I'm saying, the who, like it's he's just very like observant and he really like cared, you know what I'm saying. But as far as the music, you know, like I wasn't even really able to realize that we had him as an artist until after he passed.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because like that's how much of a friend and homie, you know, and we just grew. He's coming around us, like you know, learning certain things and the quality and seeing a certain artist that we working with, and you know, we learning things from him and seeing how he's rapping and how we could change certain formats, and you know what I'm saying. It was really a relationship, you know what I'm saying, a music relationship
Mm.
that was built in an artist producer relationship to where you know even with um, phonics and Mike and Keys, And that's where around like Crenshaw happened. You know, that's always been like the nucleus. You know what I'm saying? I call it the dream team. I seen somebody posted on like one of the Nip fan page.
Right.
It was me, Rance, Mike, and Keys, and it's like they just posted the dream team. But it's like that was really when I started hearing Nip like, yeah, like, oh, send it to my producers, or yeah, I gotta get my producers to boom, boom, boom. You know, and we know, but it's just like we wasn't thinking about it like that. We were just so used to doing the music. We were so focused. Everybody, you know what I'm saying? Again, no ego. So we just like trying to figure out how to get whatever Nip sound, like his sound, we wanted to be able to like construct and sonically build that. You know what I'm saying? What does it sound like on Crenshaw and Slauson? You know what I'm saying? What does it sound like transitioning from that, but still being from there and like evolving as a man, evolving as a dad, evolving as a, you know, entrepreneur, evolving into, you know, now you into fashion. It's different fashion. We ain't just got the, you know, regular, you know, long 3XTs no more. Now we, you know, got silk, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
it's just
The sound
everything
like
kept
that.
evolving. Like it had to,
Yeah.
Nip had this saying that it got to sound like it looked, you know what I'm saying? You know,
See,
if somebody never been to LA, if you listen to Victory Lap, and I've heard people say this, and it was like, "Thank you, Jesus," you know what I'm saying? And I know Hustle proud because it's like people that have never been to LA feel like they're in LA when they listen to that project for sure.
Well, that was the benefit of classic hip hop albums like Illmatic by Nas. I remember feeling like I've been to New York without ever being to New York. Then when I finally went to New York, I remember I was out there with Murs, and Murs was like, do me a favor and go walk down these streets and listen to Illmatic and see if you don't have a different perspective on it. I genuinely feel like that's what Victory Lap did and accomplished. There are times where I might be losing some steam and I hear, oh, and I'm like, oh, it's time. It's go time. Something about his voice, something about the musicality, dedication. Dedication is another one of those that I'm just like, immediately the chords that are being played almost feel like, once again, church influenced chords, and it feels like food for the soul, man. What's something that you saw firsthand? Two questions actually. First one, how did you approach personally working in that environment with Nip? Like, was there a different approach? Was it the same old, you know, My Guy Mars? And then also two, what did you see firsthand about his work ethic in these studio sessions?
To be honest, like around that time, because I had a studio with Nip. So after Crenshaw, Nip had a studio with Mike and Keys on Burbank. So this is around like 2014, 2015. And then after that, maybe around 2016 or so, we moved into a studio together. So Nip and Mike and Keys got into the studio, and then Mike told me, you know, it's another studio in there. So me and Mýa moved in, and then BJ moved in. So it was like all of us just like a dorm of just all homies that make music together. We going up and downstairs, making beats, starting beats, going in Nip room, you know. So that's around that time. It was like we did Slauson. That's how we did Slauson Boy too, because we was doing Marathon Mondays. We started doing Marathon Mondays, and it would just turned into a project. So we were all together every day, you know, doing stuff. I sent the song to Snoop. He sent it right back. Like, nigga, this shit sound like Death Throat. Nigga, this shit fire. Hey, mix my vocals. And he sent over the, you know. So it was like that thing. So that was more like the juice while we were working on Victory Lap. But Mike and Keys, Rance, they were there more like, you know, every day. I was at the studio. I think we were working on a project for Mýa as well. And then just different sessions. So I'll go every now and again, but around the mixing time is when, you know, we all got there and just, you know, see what's needed, what's not needed, you know, things like that. So
yeah. And what about his work ethic? You know, that it's wild how we get so many videos that I feel like either weren't being circulated or maybe he just had them in the archives ready for a different time. You know, I would see him like firsthand, like he got the audio interface, turn that on, and then we kind of get to here, and he's writing, you know, multitasking and all that. Is that something that you kind of saw firsthand as well?
I mean, yeah, like Hustle didn't really like. He was an artist that he didn't rap unless he felt the beat. So like,
Okay.
you know, we could be just on some. He might come in on some like, man, like some Tupac vibes, like on some, you know, had a bad day and just want to rap and get something off. And he ain't even got to say nothing. He just come in, you know, with that energy. And we might be on some trap, like, you know, feel good, happy vibes, which is the complete opposite. So sometimes it's like we would have to tell him like, yo, nah, like this is, we would have to make him like literally rap on some beats, you know what I'm saying? But the majority of the time, how he worked, he like if he didn't feel it, he wouldn't rap over it. You know what I'm saying? So that was like his whole thing. Like, but yeah, he would sometimes he'll write, sometimes he'll just go in the booth and just rap. Sometimes he'll start the verse and then, you know, ride around the Maybach and then come back and do another, you know, it's like a different process. It was different processes depending on the song and the situation. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So something I you know I talked about or was mentioned to me from your system was something about a Nipsey Hussle tribute show.
Oh yeah, for sure. We got a tribute for Hustle. I'm doing After Church LA on the 30th of this month. The information is on my Instagram or on my story or something. But yeah, we're doing a tribute to Hustle. You know, a lot of the homies from All Money In is gonna be there. You know, of course, I'm gonna be there. Mike and Keys, Rance. You know, just be able to like celebrate. You know, the life of Hustle and keep it going for the 6 years. You know, 6 year transition.
Yeah, yeah.
Celebrate life.
Man, let's talk about After Church LA. What was the inspiration behind creating this event series?
Well, the short version is I always would leave church and go to the studio, and all the homies would want to come to the studio and smoke and make beats and, you know, play instruments, sing, get on my nerves. So, so I was like, you know what? I should create an event called After Church that everybody can just go after church because there's so many people that go to church, so many musicians, so many talented singers, and I'll just give them my relationships and my network and invite managers, invite publishers, invite different people, and they can come be discovered, you know, just from auditioning and then I mean just from performing. So it's a concert series and we also have a live band. So it's always like, you know, members of 1500 or Nothing or you know, people that I, you know, endorse to, you know, make you have some professional musicians and, you know, music while you're performing.
So there's a lot of names and titles attached to what you do. And we're going to get into this music director. We're going to get into some church stuff, as you promised, of course. This is where we're heading to. Last question I have about After Church LA is how do you want artists and attendees to feel when they come to After Church LA? Like, what is your goal? Because I know that goes through your mind as someone who is always directing the direction of creativity.
Yeah. So, I mean, the intention was like for everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't go to, like I was smoking while I was talking about how much I love church and how I came, you know, to church. And it's like you can't, you know, you can't of course you can't smoke in church. You know what I'm saying? But it's like people that just want to relax afterwards, or it's people that want to, you know what I'm saying, go have a glass of wine or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Not go do something crazy, but be around a group of creatives, be around people that have that foundation, that same spirituality, that same love for God, that same, you know, talent, that same, you know what I'm saying, the same spirit, the same anointing. All of those things are in the room. So it's literally church, you know what I'm saying? But it's just people that's able to express, you know, and convey their music through however they express it, you know what I'm saying? If it's R&B, if it's pop, if it's rap, if it's, you know what I'm saying, church. We've had gospel artists, you know what I'm saying? But for the most part, it's just a concert series. It's open format.
I gotta salute you for bridging that gap too, because I feel like the conversations are a lot healthier than they've ever been in terms of, you know, the church's relationship with the idea of rap, the relationship with the idea of hip hop, and sometimes I've noticed firsthand it can get a little tricky because you know there are some more old school, I guess, traditions of how we talk to one another, especially as Black folks, how we talk about all these things, right? But you bridging the gap, I think, is really interesting because my mom always stressed to me, right? I didn't read my Bible as much as I should have, but she always stressed to me, don't ever forget that Jesus washed the feet of Jezebel, that Jesus was around the criminals, Jesus was around all the folks at that time that was up to no, like, don't ever forget that and let these folks make another vision of him that he like, where you get this interpretation from? That's not what's even in my book. I love the fact that you prioritize and bringing the gospel artists with folks in their natural environment, because I'm like, to me, that's where folks are the most open to alternative ways of seeing things. Was that kind of intentional, or was this how it worked out?
Absolutely. I mean, that's that's the point. Like, because it reflects me and my brand. My dad is a pastor, so it's like I understand what it is and what I'm doing. It's like you're not supposed to do it. You know what I'm saying? But it's like I want to be the person I'll be the black sheep. I'll be the person that
Right.
break the barrier, and then now you start seeing other events that's similar. It's it's a lot of other concert series and people doing the same thing where you can have different networks and different places to go to what I'm saying, be in the same company of people that you have the same share beliefs, share the same beliefs, or what I'm saying, the same talents. So
well, I like I said, I think it sounds like folks are in really good hands with you. But I remember firsthand being in some of these churches, bro, and I'm like, the stuff that you see behind closed doors sometimes in some of these environments, bro. I didn't been in churches where the pastor put all of the ushers at the door and said, God told me we're supposed to have this amount of money today in offering. And go ahead and stand by the doors. I think some of y'all have stubborn souls in here. I said some of y'all have stubborn, and I'm like, Mama, is he locking us in here right now? She playing the keys and all of this. Like, I've seen other sides of church where I'm like, the same judgment that was put on me for rapping a certain way or rapping about certain things or being around certain people. I was like, it's really ironic when you really have been in the church, you get a new perspective, especially when some of the church folks may come over the house, and it's like, oh, sister so and so, you ain't so holier than thou no more, So we all human beings, I think that's one thing that's important, is being able to give each other grace and time to find our way. So I salute you. Let's get into some church stuff. I mean, we already been into some church stuff. You talked about it. You stressed it. Why was that a point of emphasis? First of all, this is just a random question. Why was that a point of emphasis in your post today? Like, I mean, I know it's Sunday. I know it's probably some folks that got some eyes on it. Why was that a point of emphasis today?
I mean, well, yeah, like, I think that, well, it's a two-part answer. One, I think that church as a whole is not emphasized as much, like, as far as, where things come from. You know what I mean? And it's not like today is not really the day where you wake up on Sunday and all the homies is in church. Everybody's in church. It used to be like, when I was growing up, if I was sick, I'm screwed. I ain't got nobody to play Nintendo with. I ain't got nobody to go outside, play basketball with. Everybody is in church.
Everybody's in church.
It's Catholic, whatever. Like, that was
Sunday school, all that, yeah.
Everybody's in church, and now it's like people have the option. It's more, like, I can just watch it online, which I would rather do too, which I don't judge. As long as however you get it is how you get it, what I'm saying? And your relationship with God is your relationship with God. It's just, I think when you have the platform, people don't really express like the foundation, you know what I'm saying? And then the second part of that is that I had did this breakdown for this song. Look. All right, got you. Look. I had did this breakdown for this song, and somebody had commented on it and was like, yeah, man, I actually, played the keys, not this church stuff. And it was just like, this is exactly what I'm talking about.
Right.
Like,
how do you interpret that when you hear that? Like, what do you?
Well, I mean, I'll let y'all go to my Instagram and see. I made a post and did a nice thought out caption. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, again, like, this is where I come from. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I'm never gonna devalue where I come from. I'm never going to devalue God. I'm never going to devalue, and I'm not going to allow people to disrespect me either. So,
Yeah,
you know what
facts.
I'm saying? I'm here to just give information. I'm here to show love and, you know, help however I can and do incredible, expensive music. You know
Right,
what I'm saying? That's what I'm here to do. You know what I'm
right,
saying?
right.
So, and I'm a Bishop's kid, so it's like it's going to be church. It's going to always be West Coast because it's coming from a church, West Coast
Mhm.
nigga.
Come on, no matter what. And I
It's
always
gonna
remind my
always
mom.
be
I say, Mama, don't worry. I said, don't ever worry about how far it feels like I'm straying. I say, I was in that church with you. I heard them say same seeds got planted. Maybe I wasn't in the same headspace you were in, but it
right,
ain't
right,
go nowhere.
right.
Like, there's a foundation, a moral
Mhm.
code that, certain things. And I think perhaps it's probably what would move me away personally, what moved me away from the industry at times. Cause I'm like, I don't know how brothers keep it together in these spaces sometimes when folks be trying you and you be like, oh my, it's gonna take every prayer in the world for me
Mhm.
not to say what I really want to say here.
Yeah,
Um,
man. Mhm.
how we looking like on time? I want to respect your time. I know you still sessioning up and whatnot.
Yeah, I'm good. I probably got like another like 5 or so, 5, 10.
Okay, well let's get to these questions, or let's get to these specific things dealing with you as a musical director, and I want to talk a little bit about the long-term vision. Now, um you I saw based upon a text that I got that you have a title as a musical director, and I'm
Mhm.
just curious in general what goes into that role, and what does that involve behind the scenes?
Well, it depends on the artist and it depends on like how in depth. So, like I was musical director for Faith, for her. A lot of the show tracks that she had, show tracks are like having her backgrounds in, but not having her lead, so she could
Mhm.
perform the lead. So she didn't have like a lot of those songs from her old catalog because she didn't have the files. So I went in and like reproduced, some of the tracks, and then she went in and sang, re-sang the parts that she needed so she can have the show tracks to be able to play. So that's like, okay, now we got the show tracks. And then when we on stage, I'm playing keys as well as musical directing, but I have a microphone so I can, tell people when to keep going, or I could tell Faith like, okay, something's happening right now, or like, let's go, or Faith to tell me let's skip the next song, and so everybody knows not to play the the song that we're supposed to play. You know what I'm saying? It's just
Mhm.
little things like that. You literally have to direct the music and direct like the whole production for the most part. That's how I do it.
Right.
But then in the instance of like Takeoff's funeral, like I'm musical director Takeoff's funeral, excuse me, and like all the music from anything you hear from the first time you hear any music to the end is everything that I've done, that I
Mhm.
put together, like from the playlist to what song played at what time, you know, you know what I mean? So you have to be in touch with the production, and, you know, shout out my guy Kenny, and be able to just have the music already clean. And, we're professionals. We really, you know, are in depth with the music, so we want to make sure it's the sound good, the sound
Mhm.
guy is straight. It's all covering, all aspects, and that's pretty much like being the musical director.
Right. Well, to bring things to a close, man. First of all, now I can use this for real. Round of applause to all the work that you've been doing. We appreciate your time. So, one last question. My audience is predominantly independent artists and music producers.
Mhm.
This is kind of an extension of what you just talked about is your role as the musical director. But one, what are the biggest mistakes that you see artists make when it comes to building out their live show? Let's just say rappers. How about we start with rappers? When building out their live show, and just any game or any advice that you have in general for independent artists in this new age of independence.
Uh, as far as live shows, rappers stop rapping over your tracks.
Hold on.
Make TV tracks.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
I had to do that. Okay, you good. You
It's
good.
called show tracks or TV tracks. We call them TV tracks when you start working in TV and all that, whatever. But take the rap out, or what I've done for another artist. So I'm not gonna say no names, but certain artists like different things. Like they need to hear a lyric because you might be rapping and then you didn't think, about performing the song, which is why I have a sign in my studio that says you may have to perform these songs. So you should think about like what you're saying and what you're writing. So if you have to perform, you won't run out of breath and you won't have to, say 1,000,000 words per minute. But if you do have a song that everybody loves, they probably want to hear you performing it. So either turn the track all the way down so you can really hear it low and you can, get in, get out, whatever, or just make a show track. And then the second thing I'll say, which is the most important thing for all artists find a producer and producer find an artist. That's how you're going to get your sound. That's how you're going to get discovered. I mean, you can get discovered so many different ways, but it's better if you have an artist to create something with and be able to, build with and create sound with.
Man, we thank you for your time the same way we thank the Dallas Mavericks for Luka Doncic. So, hey, AD has been real. AD has been real. We appreciate you. I see the Lakers had the whole time. I'm a diehard Lakers fan. We appreciate your efforts.
Yeah, man. Nah, we good.
AD. But man, we're gonna let you get back to the studio session. We appreciate you taking the time to come over here and give us some gems and a little bit about your insight to your story and whatnot. And keep doing the amazing things that you're doing. We're in full support. Whatever you have going on, keep the amazing work up for all the things that you're doing. Thank you for coordinating everything. And thank you once again for being on here.
Yes, sir. Thank you, man. If y'all want to pull up after church, again, my Instagram is MYGUYMARS, website MYGUYMARS.com. Yeah, man, God loves you and I do too.
There it is. All right, DIYers, you already know the routine. The video will go up and you'll be able to go back through the timestamps. Give me a second to do that. Have an amazing one, DIYers. Make sure that you do hit the like button before you get up out of here. And have a good one, DIYers. I'll talk to you soon. Peace out. DIYers, if you enjoyed this content, make sure that you hit the like button and maybe even consider subscribing. Come on, man. Stop being greedy. Peace.